Here it is, my Kentucky Derby full field rundown, ending with my picks for the trifecta at the end. Trust the profits. We are a little over a week away from the Kentucky Derby. Yes, here are our tip sheet options. Hit the join button. You can get our tip sheets, flight line, rich strike, whatever you pick. You're going to get the Kentucky Derby sheets. Plus, you're going to get a bunch of other stuff with the flight line. But you know that already. Let's move on. Yes, the Kentucky Derby a little bit over a week away. It is Saturday, May 6th, 2023 at Churchill Downs. Where else would it be? It is a G1. It is 10 furlongs. It is 1.25 miles on dirt. We have 20 horses to go through. So let's get to it. Starting with Forte. 6 wins, 7 attempts. I mean, nearly spotless record, almost perfection for Forte so far. Who could doubt him at all? Uh, Won the Florida Derby with a huge close from sixth place. I mean, he was at ninth place for part of the race too, but I mean, from the about the three quarters point, he was at sixth place. Ended up passing Mage, beating him by a length. 9 furlong race, winner of the Fountain of Youth. That was a much more discernible win, a much more open and shut case, winning by 4.5 lengths there. Going back, he did win the BC Juvenile over Cave Rock. Cave Rock, who was a favorited horse in that race. We're not even going to talk about the Claiborne Futurity. All right, I'm not going to bring up that horse. I'm not going to bring him up. I'm not going to hit the drop. We just know that Forte is the horse to beat going into the Kentucky Derby. Maybe some people have other horses higher on their power rankings, but Forte is really the horse to beat. Practical Move. You want to talk about West Coast horses? Let's talk about Practical Move. He's got 4 wins in 7 races. Most recently, he won the Santa Anita Derby, beating Mandarin Hero by a nose. I would have loved to see Mandarin Hero racing in the Kentucky Derby, as would many other people. That was a really close race there for Practical Move, obviously. Winner of the San Felipe as well, 2.5 lengths over Go Rocket Ride, Skinner, and Hijazi. Also, winner of the Los Alamitos Futurity. I mean, this is the horse that has won and owned the West Coast this year. Really, the big question is, what does that mean? The horses there this year, I taking the whole Baffert gate out of the equation, Baffert's biggest horses this year have fallen by the wayside, fallen into injury. We talk about Arabian Night. I mean, that was a huge Baffert horse. Cave Rock as well. We just talked about on the previous slide. So everything after that, I feel like are Baffert's second and third tier horses. So Reincarnate, Fort Bragg, Arabian Lion. So who is he really beaten this time around? I think those are the biggest questions for Practical Move at this point. Angel of Empire. You're my angel. Yeah, Angel of Empire. Thank you very much. Arkansas Derby winner, beating the field by 4+ lengths. I mean, there's a field of 3 horses behind him, but there was no question at all who was winner of that race, and it was Angel of Empire. Also impressively winning the Risen Star, going 9 furlongs there, beating Sun Thunder by a length. Second at the Smarty Jones, a shorter race, obviously losing to Victory Formation there, but obviously rebounding afterwards, showing that he is a horse that can really close out down the stretch in some of these longer races. The only non-place finish for him so far is a Kentucky Downs finish, which is kind of odd for a horse that is in the Kentucky Derby. Angel of Empire, one more time. Yeah, we can see there where Liv Tyler gets her acting skills. Not really. TAPIT TRICE. Moving on to TAPIT TRICE. 4 wins. TAPIT TRICE in 5 races. Winner of the Bluegrass, beating Verifying by a neck there. And before that, he won the Tampa Bay Derby 2 lengths over Classic Car Wash, coming from 8th place. Start of the stretch. It was starting to look a little dicey there for TAPIT TRICE, but he closed out strong in that race. Previous to that, an 8-length winner over Shesterkin in a 1-mile allowance race. So TAPIT TRICE also definitely in the conversation here. 2 fills. Not at the same level as some of these other horses we've been talking about. There's a good, I would say, 4 or 5 horses that are fairly even, jockeying for position as being the favorite. 2 fills, I would say, is in a tier below that, but one that you can't ignore. A really a horse that a lot of people like as a long shot favorite here. Long shot favorite. Can you say that? Is that a jumbo shrimp type of thing? Anyway, a favorite to pick as a long shot. Let me put it that way, because you're going to get a price on him. He did win the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway, the race that we saw Rich Strike come from. Although Rich Strike didn't win the race, Tis the Bomb did last year, but he won that race by 5 lengths over Major Dude. Major Dude, who was going into that race, is a pretty good favorite, I would say, and I mean, it's a pretty significant win for two fills. He was third by 2 lengths in the Risen Star behind Angel of Empire. Should I hit the button again to make the drop happen? No, I'll spare you. I'll spare you. Second at the Lecomte, 2.5 lengths behind Instant Coffee there in a race that seems like happened eons ago. Um, yeah, I mean, this is a horse. He's been in a ton of graded stakes races, 5 in a row. And other than the BC, right, the last 4 races he's been in the money on. So two fills has really competed the whole way through here on the Derby Trail. Lord Miles. I mean, talk about Lord Miles. Was it 3 or 4 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago. Wouldn't have been in the conversation at all. Would have been an interesting footnote as a horse that was on the Derby Trail at one point, but, failed to really catch on. And then the Wood Memorial happened, a race that Hit Show should have really won if you pay attention to any of the morning lines, obviously. Lord Miles going into all the races, whether it be the Wood Memorial, the Tampa Bay Derby, the Mucho Macho Man Stakes, was always looked at as being one of these closers. Horse that comes from behind. You want to throw Rich Strike's name out there, right? A horse that trails for most of the race, really charges down at the end, especially in the long races, favors what he's able to do. And you saw that at the Wood Memorial. Lord Miles ended up winning that by a nose over Hit Show. Then the question now becomes, can he sustain that? Can he overcome what was really a fifth place finish at Tampa Bay Derby, a third at the Mucho Macho Man, which isn't even graded? Um, does he show enough to actually even hit the board here? I think he's a favorite by a lot of people to be one of the last place horses, but we'll see. I don't think he's going to finish there. I think he's going to be um, in the teens, if not like the 7 to 10 range. Derma SOTAGAKE, 4 wins in 8 races. Wouldn't be surprised if you haven't seen him though, because he doesn't race in the United States. He's raced in Japan and in the Middle East. Last out, UAE Derby winner. Oof. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch it. It is impressive. Wired the race. For a while there, it was looking a little tight. And down the stretch, with a little bit of urging from his jockey, he stretched out what was a lead by a nose to 5.5 lengths. Um, in a 9.5 furlong race. Very impressive. A very strong showing before the Derby. For that, at the Saudi Derby, he went a mile there, third place. But before entering that, right, 3 straight wins in Japan. You can see from the UAE Derby why this horse, a lot of people are picking to win the Kentucky Derby, right? I mean, Matt DeSantis on our network here. Colin Sheehan is a Derma SOTAGAKE guy, I believe, as well. Colin, don't let me put words in your mouth, but you can understand why these guys are picking him based on what you see there, because he just destroyed the competition. Kingsbarns. So we're talking about a horse here who has yet to lose a race. He's only raced in 3, a little bit of a latecomer to the Derby Trail, a Todd Pletcher horse, but he wired the Louisiana Derby, beating Disarm by 3.5 lengths. Pretty impressive for a 9 furlong race. Before that, he beat Mikey Bananas, which I need a drop for now. I need a Mikey Bananas drop. I'm missing it, by 7 3/4 lengths in a 1 mile, 70-yard race. What's the knock on Kingsbarns at this place? Why isn't he high up on a lot of people's lists? Well, his biggest race obviously is the Louisiana Derby, and a lot of people knocked the race times in that. Yes, he wired the race, but he didn't set an astronomical pace, and no one really challenged him too deeply on the pace, and speed figures weren't astronomical either. I like to put that aside. I think that he did exactly what he needed to do. He beat who was out there. This horse to me is a threat. Race Kane. 2 wins for Raise Kane. Last time out, Bluegrass, not looking so good. Kingsbarns beat him by 6 lengths. This is a horse that won the Gotham, resting on the laurels of the Gotham, I would say. He won that by 7 lengths, but he also was the horse that passed the lead horse who had lost his jockey. That was a weird race, that Gotham Stakes. We talked about that a couple times here. So what can you make of that? I mean, this is one of those horses here who is probably in contention for the last place prize.
Uh-oh, it's a junkie!
Raise Kane, in my opinion, is a insta toss. What else we got going on here? Rocket Can. Yeah, we got ourselves a Rocket Can. Fourth place at the Arkansas Derby. Started out in six, 2 lengths behind, faded, and then ended up being 4+ lengths back in the same cluster with Reincarnate and King Russell, losing out to Angel of Empire. I know I worded that a little bit funny, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Could have been second place. Either way, he's losing to Angel of Empire by 4 lengths, right? That whole pack there was really, really tight. Again, 4 lengths behind Angel of Empire.
You're my angel.
Couldn't resist. Um, Fountain of Youth, second place there, 4.5 lengths behind Forte. I mean, if we're going to look at those two races and we're going to say Angel of Empire and Forte are two top tier horses, we put Rocket Can 4 lengths, maybe five behind them at the end. So that's about where I think Rocket Can is going to finish in the Derby. He's looked impressive at times, but he's also not looked like he's at that next tier. He's at the tier below. I mean, he's a good eighth place, ninth place horse here. Yeah, Rocket Can. Who's next? What we got next here? It's all right. Who did this? Who did this? You guys are forcing my hand here. Let's be honest. We don't have Loggins. He's not in the Derby. He hasn't been racing for a while. We hope to see him again. I love that picture there of Loggins with the unicorn in the background. It's awesome. And I love that drop. Colin Sheehan, we're very sorry that Loggins couldn't make this race, but he did make my slide deck. That's for you. Hit Show, 5 races, 3 wins. I mean, that's pretty impressive there. 3 wins in 5 races for Hit Show. Um, Most recently, the Wood Memorial, a race he really should have won. Lord Miles, as we talked about before, won that race. Hit Show was really a heavy favorite in that race, around 1-1, I believe, post time, maybe less than that. A race that he had in hand, but ended up conceding it to Lord Miles there down the stretch. He was the winner of the Withers, closing impressively over a small field in a 9 furlong race. He won that by 5+ lengths. So that was a pretty impressive finish there. He's been racing up there in Aqueduct, not facing the greatest competition. So the fact that he did finish out in Aqueduct by losing to Lord Miles is not the greatest look for Hit Show. But I mean, in terms of horses, and we were talking about the Brad Cox barn here. He's got Angel of Empire. Okay, I'm not going to hit the button. I'll spare you that right now. He's got Hit Show. He's got Verifying coming up. Um, Pretty tough to choose between these horses, in my opinion. I do have my favorite, of course, but impressive from start to finish here. Con Game. Okay, first up, let me get this out of the way. Con Game, three wins in 7 races. His last race out, he did win the Rebel Stakes, 8.5 furlong race, beating Red Route 1 by a length. That was 74 days before the Derby. I had said previously 83. Sorry, I misspoke on that in the confidence game short reel that we had done earlier. It is 74 days till the Derby. Someone called me on that in the comments. You are correct, sir. I was wrong. I am admitting my mistake right here. Came in third at Lecomte, and this is a weird one, right? This is why it's hard to judge confidence game, because I mean, yeah, his last race out was a win. He beat Red Route 1, who is a horse that we now look at, and he didn't make the Derby cut. We thought maybe he could be one of those closers, a mutter even. And then we look at the Lecomte. At one point, we thought, hey, a third place in Lecomte, not too bad. 7 lengths behind Instant Coffee, but now Instant Coffee didn't even make the Derby cut. He's looked pretty off since then, right? In terms of the Brad Cox horses, he now falls to at least fourth. Um, but yeah, confidence game, had previous wins at Churchill too. That's something a lot of people like to note. In a 100K allowance race, he beat Rocket Can, which is a horse that we just talked about, and being that second tier down type horse. So confidence game, a bit of a wild card here. A fun horse to talk about. What can we build on with that? I mean, what kind of 4D chess is DISARM playing with us? It's not delivery, it's DISARM. Verifying. So here we go. Here's another Brad Cox horse for you. Looks like Tyler Gaffalione is going to be jockeying, Verifying. Second at the Bluegrass, losing to TAPIT TRICE by a neck. Really thrilling finish there. Did it answer the questions about Verifying? I mean, he didn't win, but he came really close. This seems to be the calling for Verifying. He's either very close to winning, or he's a little bit disappointing. For example, the Rebel Stakes, 5 lengths from confidence game in that one, finishing in fourth place, trailing Red Route 1 and Reincarnate. Um, Obviously, 2 of those horses made the Derby cut. One of them didn't. Rebounded from the BC Juvenile. Yeah, the BC Juvenile wasn't exactly enormous for him. So 6th place after a lot of people thought that maybe that was his race to break out, right? I mean, everybody looked at the BC Juvenile and they saw Cave Rock, they saw Forte, and after that, I think they saw Verifine and thought, maybe this is a horse that you're getting good value on. He could end up beating those horses. He's a horse that I identified in that way. To come in 6th place, it was a bit of a disappointment. So Verifine, 2 wins in those 6 races. Granted, he's playing some pretty heavy competition there, but I'm also looking at what he's not doing, and it disappoints me quite a bit with Verifine. Some people really love him. I'm not sold. Sun Thunder. Uh, yeah, okay. So talking on both sides of my mouth, by talking about horses where you see what they're not doing as well as what they are doing, I'm going to flip the script a little bit on Sun Thunder. Yeah, he ran in fourth at the Bluegrass. He ran in fifth at the Louisiana Derby. He ran second place at the Risen Star and fourth place at the Southwest Stakes. In all of those, he closed out down the stretch. In some cases, significant number of horses that he passed down the stretch. So this is why he has my top closing power, right? So if we look at last year's Derby, won by Rich Strike, and we think about what were the indicators on Rich Strike. So a part of my formula that I developed is closing power, and this came about after Rich Strike. I was trying to figure out what were the clues there, and one thing I noticed is in developing this tool here, the closing power, is Rich Strike was a 6 on my closing power, which is pretty darn high. In this Derby coming up, I am estimating right now. I've got to take it fully through the official uh, Derby slate here, but I am judging Sun Thunder right now as being probably about a 5.6. Got Forte as a 4. You got Angel Vampire as a 4 as well. So that gives you a little bit of a range here. I mean, this is a Derby coming up where we have a whole bunch of closers. We have a whole bunch of horses that are pounding it out down the stretch, and we're looking for that early speed. Unlike last year, where it seemed like early speed took over and really just completely wilted a bunch of horses in the sun. But if we're going to talk about who is our Rich Strike this year, my quote right now is we're saying it's Sun Thunder. That's not me saying that Sun Thunder is going to win the Kentucky Derby and completely shock the world, but I think this is a horse. If you're picking him to finish last, I believe you're wrong. I believe this is a horse that is going to pass a number of horses down the stretch. And if those horses start to wilt in the sun in a 10 furlong race, I believe Sun Thunder could be one of the horses that passes a number of those and finds its way into the money. Spoiler alert. Mage, 3 races, 1 win, 1 second place, 1 fourth place. So second place finish at the Florida Derby in a race where it looked like he was going to upset Forte. Forte ended up passing him, beating him by a length down the stretch there. But for a while, it looked like Mage was the one who was closing out from behind and passing the pack and taking over. He had the race won, and then he didn't. Forte took over. That's why Forte is Forte. Previous to that, though, the Fountain of Youth, just his second race, finished a respectable fourth place, 6 lengths behind Forte. Uh, Again, it was his second race, so it's kind of hard to judge off that. And he had to run against Forte again. Broke his maiden before that. Is he too young? Is he too inexperienced? Or is he peaking at the right time? Gustavo Delgado, love him as a trainer. I'm very curious to see what Castellano will do with Mage in the Derby. Disarm. So the horse that's ran the most recently, Disarm, third place at the Lexington, in what should have been a layup for him, or what a lot of people were thinking should be a layup for him. He went in as the favorite, but maybe there's something else going on there. Maybe they were looking to get just enough points to get into the Derby and just to secure that Derby spot. Possibly, who knows? But he did end up losing by 4 lengths to First Mission. Before that, second place in Louisiana Derby behind Kingsbarns by 3.5 lengths. Fairly respectable. Broke his maiden at Saratoga, yada, yada, yada. So Disarm, where we're going to put him, recent racer, didn't look so great in the Lexington. Was that on purpose? I will say this, Asmussen and Rosario's his jockey this time around. That could bode well for Disarm. What else we got here? Reincarnate. So 2 wins, 3 second places. That doesn't add up. I'll do the math again later. Don't worry about it. Pretty sure it's eight races. But he finished in third at the Arkansas Derby. Four and three quarters behind Angel of Empire, third at the Rebel. Previous two races, Sham Stakes, he won that, broke his maiden. Um, but I mean, what are we going to say about Reincarnate here? It seems like he gets these big races. Sometimes he becomes the favorite. He's got options and just doesn't look great. And this is why I'm calling him second or third tier Baffert. Now, he is a Yak horse that is transferred from the Baffert barn to Yak. This is not your practical move type horse, which is a true Yak. This is a Baffert horse.
You like it in Jewish, eh?
So are you Reincarnate fan or what? I don't know. I am not. I have not liked what I've seen from him so far, so I'm going to take a pass on Reincarnate. Continue our 5211 lifetime. If you love Derma SOTAGAKE, you will like continue our seems to be in Derma SOTAGAKE's shadow all of the time. Third place finish to Derma SOTAGAKE, 10 lengths behind. That's a long shadow he's casting. In the Saudi Derby, he was fifth place going a mile, 3.5 lengths behind Commissioner King there. We have yet to know who is going to be the jockey on Continue R. So what do we got next? Oh, JACE'S Road. Here we are, JACE'S Road. We're almost there, guys. I promise. Um, let me just say it right now. He's an insta toss.
Uh-oh, it's a chunky!
I mean, I said before, instant coffee is probably my fourth Brad Cox horse, above JACE'S Road. I would rather have instant coffee in this race than JACE'S Road. I feel like JACE'S Road is probably going to be your last place horse here. I've gone on camera, said it before. I believe that's going to be the case here. Yeah, he won the gun runner at the fairgrounds, but he disappointed in the Southwest Stakes. He ran in third at the Louisiana Derby, but it was 6 lengths behind Kingsbarns. I mean, yeah, insta toss. So, what we got going on here? Skinner. Oh, I lied. We did have one more horse left, but I'm tossing Skinner as well. Third place at the San Felipe, broke his maiden, blah, blah, blah. Um, I'm going to take a pass on Skinner. I have not liked what I've seen from him so far. Um, he's another horse coming over from the West Coast that just hasn't impressed me at all in any of the G1s that I've seen him in. So now here we are, the strategy. The safe pick here is obviously Forte. We all know that. The value play is Angel of Empire, in my opinion. That's the horse that I'm going to be playing. If you were going to key, I think the safe bet in terms of keying is going to Forte. The numbers just tell you that the morning line favorite is a good pick to put into the top three. Um, and Forte himself, he's just done nothing but win, other than that one time, sometime last year in a race that we've all forgotten about. But who else am I keying him with? Going to be adding in Angel of Empire, of course. Kingsbarns, who I told you I really liked before, and then Sun Thunder. So you know my strategy on Sun Thunder. That last part of the key, especially in these long races, I like to throw in what I think is the top closer, the horse that I think can pass the most horses down the stretch, so to speak, and has shown the ability to do so. Even though he hasn't put himself in the money every single time he's done it, Sun Thunder, I think, is going to be a horse stretching out to 10 furlongs that I think could end up passing a bunch of those horses and surprising people down the stretch. You tend to get those at the Derby. So we made it, guys. We made it. We're almost at the Kentucky Derby. That's what I have. Obviously, didn't have all the jockeys in place. Obviously, don't have the odds yet. Don't have the post positions. But that's what I'm going with for right now. Right. So we're more than a week out. Things may change. I want to hear your comments. Drop them in the comment section. Hit subscribe. Let us know what you think. I hope you guys had as much fun doing this as I did. I love doing all these. See you later.